So the winter is usually a slow time for most nurseries out there. Most of the money that nurseries make is usually made during the growing season when people are buying trees and planting trees. But the winter time is usually the opposite. The only trees that are being sold in the winter that people are actually buying a lot of are Christmas trees. Why? Because people use a Christmas tree to celebrate Christmas. And Christmas trees are an easy and quick way to make up for lost revenue during the winter months for most nurseries. So if it makes sense to sell Christmas trees and it makes money, so why do I refuse to sell Christmas trees at my nursery? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to be giving you 3 reasons why that is. Reason number 1, and that is I can't grow Christmas trees, which are not even Christmas trees. We're talking about pine trees in containers. Can you grow them? Yes, but pine trees, unlike most trees out there, they need the root space in order for them to actually grow big to a size people are willing to buy. If you grow a pine tree in a container, it will take so long for that tree to get to any decent size, and actually will never get to a decent size people are actually willing to pay money for. This is the reason why when you go buy a Christmas tree at the store, they're always chopped and sitting in water because those trees were grown in the ground. One of the things that I've noticed as a nursery is it's always best to grow as many trees as possible instead of buying them from somewhere else and then getting them shipped here to sell to the public. When you grow your own trees, not only will you save money as a nursery, you will also learn how to grow that specific tree. And that is how I actually know a lot about the trees that I show in my videos, because I grow them myself. I don't just buy and resell them. But Alan, you being a hypocrite. You do buy trees wholesale from other places and selling at your nursery. You don't grow every single tree that you sell at your nursery. Well, that is true. And that brings us to reason number 2. So in order for me to be able to sell a Christmas tree, I will have to buy a wholesale from somewhere else where the tree grows naturally like a weed, like Oregon, for instance. Pine trees in general like to grow in cooler climates. Rich soil where it rains a lot and the soil drains the water. My soil here in the desert, it's clay. Now, pine trees will grow in the ground here in my area and they're gonna get big too. But the problem that I have in my area is water. Pine trees need a lot of water, deep water as they get older. It doesn't rain that often in my area. Land is very expensive in my area and irrigation is extremely expensive. So it makes sense just to buy them from somewhere else. But in order for me to get pine trees that people are willing to pay money for, they have to be big. And like I said earlier, pine trees will not get big in a container. It just doesn't happen. Because pine trees need space to grow their root system. So those trees are grown in farms, thousands of acres. And then when they're ready to be sold, they chop them down and ship them across the United States. For you to have a tree for about a month so you can sit underneath that tree on Christmas Day and open your presents, and then the next day you can just throw it away. Those trees take years to get to that size that you're buying them at the stores. Years. They don't take just a few months. Most pine trees, like the smaller sized pine trees or Christmas trees that people buy, on average take about 3 to 4 years to get to that size. That's a long time. And what farms do, they cycle their crops. They will grow a few thousand every year. They're always planting pine trees for the future because it takes that long for those trees to get to that size. But that is not the problem. The problem is chopping them down. So in order for those trees to get shipped across the United States, they need to be killed, chopped. And that is why they're always sitting in water when you go to the store and buy a Christmas tree. I view plants as living beings. I respect life. And I refuse to be wasteful and kill living beings such as innocent pine trees just so that you can have it in your living room, decorated, and appreciate that tree for most of you a few weeks out of the year, and then you throw it away. Something that took years to get to that size just to be forgotten and thrown away the next day. And that brings us to reason number 3, the destruction of ecosystems. As you know, pine trees are growing in the ground because they will grow faster in the ground than in a container. And it takes years for those trees to get to that size that you buy them. In those years, what do you think happens around thousands and thousands of acres full of pine trees? Well, the wildlife will move into that area. The birds, deer, reptiles, everybody will make those pine trees their home until they get chopped down and killed. A lot of you guys don't realize how many animals and living beings are killed every single year just so you can have that live pine tree in your living room, so you can decorate it and brag to your friends that your tree is better than theirs. Thousands, if not millions, of actual animals are killed. But Alan, you buy trees wholesale, and potted plants are sold in the millions in the United States and throughout the world. The same thing happens to potted plants. So what is the difference? You being a hypocrite. Well, check this out, guys. I'll be honest. Yes and no. Personal experience, anytime that I see a bird sitting in my trees nesting, I don't sell that tree. And I have seen that done at small nurseries like mine. I've seen it done at Home Depot. I've seen it done at Lowe's. And I have even seen that happen at massive wholesale nurseries that sell thousands and thousands of trees every single year. You know why? Because most of those trees are handled one by one. Somebody goes to that tree, like this guy's right here, picks it up, and then loads it into a pallet, and then into a semi, and it gets shipped throughout the United States. So you can see what's going on with that trees individually. And also, potted containers are moved constantly, unlike pine trees. Pine trees are growing in the ground, and they become part of the ecosystem in the area. So while I understand some animals, some living beings are going to get harmed by moving these plants around, it's not going to be as bad as decimating thousands of acres of pine trees every single year. I can tell you, even if the person harvesting these pine trees liked animals, respected living beings, they are sitting behind a machine, behind a joystick, and they don't really see what's going on with the pine tree because it's getting chopped down. If there's a bird nest in there, if there are squirrels in there, you know what? A lot of them don't even care, I'll be honest with you. And all those poor animals are dying just for us to have a tree in our living room. So some of you may agree with me, some of you may not agree with me. To be honest, I don't really care. I'm making this video just to open your eyes a little bit what's actually behind the scenes in the real world, because I know a lot of you guys love animals, and I know a lot of you like Christmas as well. When I think of Christmas, I think of giving. I think of good, positive. And when I think of Christmas trees, it's completely the opposite, just because of money. So let's say you still want to celebrate Christmas, you still want to have a Christmas tree, you don't want to harm the environment, you want to do good, you want to change your ways, even if it's just one tree at a time. What can you do? Well, personally, I have a plastic Christmas tree. And I've had that tree for many years now. But Alan, you're being a hypocrite. Plastic trees still pollute the environment and kill animals and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you're right. But like I said, I've had that tree for 7 years now. And I'm planning on having it until the day I die. It was a one-time purchase, and I use it every single year. Compared to live pine trees that are grown and thrown away every single year. So my recommendation for you is get a plastic tree. It doesn't have to be. Christmas is about the idea. It's not even about putting presents underneath it. It's about the idea behind it. most of us have forgotten that. And that's the problem with the world that we live in now. So just get yourself a plastic pine tree. It's not gonna be 100% environmentally friendly, but I can tell you it's gonna be a lot better than having a live Christmas tree in your living room. One thing that I've noticed in this world is anytime that you add money or money is involved in anything, it always spoils whatever it is that you're trying to do, even if it's positive. So now I live my life trying to do good, even if it's just a tiny bit, just trying to change the world that we live in. Anyways, if you have any comments, as always, comment below. If you like the video, don't forget to like it. And as always, I will see you next time.